I didn't think I'd be bringing up the Mario movie here, but bear with me. When the trailers were first released, there was a lot of comment about the voices. The most obvious was probably Mario. Starting in the 80s, he was American.
Well, Luigi, looks like we better take Emperor Ed back up to Skyworld and bring King Koopa down to Earth.
Then in the mid-90s, his voice was Italian.
It's me, Mario.
Now he's American again.
Save Brooklyn? Luigi, this is our chance. Destiny is calling.
These kinds of discussions were to be expected, but what surprised me were the comments on Princess Peach, who was voiced by the wonderful Anya Taylor-Joy.
If you can finish this, you're coming with me. Watch and learn.
And of course, there's been a lot of comments on how Peach has been set up as a stronger, more active character. They want her to have more depth and involvement than just being the damsel in distress waiting to be saved. What gave me pause are the comments on the depth of her voice. Don't get me wrong, I think Anya Taylor-Joy is a huge improvement over how we're used to hearing Peach.
Mario! Ah! Help!
But it's this idea that some folks feel she seems like a stronger character simply because her voice is lower. As a society, we seem to have a bad habit of associating depth and size with strength. It partly stems from simple physics. Larger things generally make larger sounds. But does size equal strength? Is bigger better when it comes to voice? I'm approached fairly often by people interested in doing voice work. My first question is often, why do you want to get into this kind of work? Sometimes it's because someone told them they have a nice big voice. Having a pleasing voice is certainly helpful, but that's not the direction in which the business is headed. Today people want authenticity. They want something they can relate to. Gone are the days of goofy character and radio voices. These days, even animated movies and shows rarely have people do funny voices. Instead, they cast people whose voice and performance are naturally distinct. This is a great time to be in this business because it's more open to the full spectrum and diversity of the human voice than ever before. So you can see why I find it discouraging that we still, both consciously and unconsciously, perpetuate this idea that deeper voices are better. It often makes people self-conscious to the point where they even hide their real voice. Sometimes we hear this in the form of vocal fry. Basically, there are 4 registers of voice. There's the modal register, which I'm speaking in right now. And of course, I think we all know the whistle register. Then we have falsetto, which is that quick shift into the high part of your voice. And then there's the fry register, where the vocal folds are their most compressed. It's kind of hard to explain, but people who use it usually do so at the end of a sentence. It's that low compressed part of the voice. It's unclear where this habit comes from, but it definitely started in the late 20th century, and it's definitely a North American phenomenon. It's worth noting that women are often the ones criticized for abusing the fry register, but there are plenty of men who are just as guilty. Regardless of who is doing it or where it comes from, it's an affectation that comes off as disingenuous, and it actually takes away from one's authority rather than adding to it. It sounds less powerful, because it is. Again, the vocal folds are at their most compressed, allowing less of your voice to come through. But let's move on from fry. There are plenty of people who do speak in their normal register who are clearly self-conscious about their voice. I've often suspected this of Howard Stern. Howard doesn't have a bad voice, but if you watch and listen carefully, he never raises his voice, and he always stays very close to the mic, giving himself as much bass presence as possible. This may be a vestige of his old radio days. Back then, authenticity was, let's say, not in fashion.
I am really excited. Hillary Clinton is here. Former senator, former first lady, former secretary of state. Look at you. Wow, I can't even believe it.
She's here.
There you are. Can I just stare at you for a while? How are you? Good to see you.
I may be wrong about Howard doing this deliberately, as I'm not a regular follower of his, but the habits are there. So getting back to people doing voice work. If they make the comment about having a nice, deep voice, I tell them it's not about sounding big. It's about having presence. Those are not the same thing. How do you get presence? From being your best self, and by being direct and authentic. I'm a big fan of Judi Dench. I often use her as an example. There's nothing particularly noteworthy about the sound of her voice, but she has presence. When she speaks, people listen. Why do they listen? Because she's not afraid of them. It has less to do with the way the voice sounds and more with the person that's using the voice.
You said you weren't motivated by revenge.
I'm motivated by my duty.
No. I think you're so blinded by inconsolable rage that you don't care who you hurt. When you can't tell your friends from your enemies, it's time to go.
Your best voice comes from your best self. Whether you're a voice performer or just someone who's out there trying to do the best you can with your career and your life, I urge you to embrace what nature gave you. You are unique, and so is your voice. Be loud, be proud, and be clear. Open up and let your real, authentic voice shine.